Well, welcome to Commander Runningcloud's log. They definitely got me in the eyebrows. They were burning and stinging. I think maybe that guy who was out there and I went to confront him, maybe he shot me again because after I ate my dinner, my eyes really started burning across my brows. And when I put some salt on them, they burned even more. So over the coming weeks, you're going to watch this start to fall down like this and this, right? And whatever other problems I'm having, with my digestion, if I'm having problems with that, if that's what this belly is about. And with these, these scars that they almost glow. These scars that they put on me from the projectile weapons, they almost glow. Now, I'm on tonight. My primary motivation for being on tonight is because I feel really guilty about what I was saying about Gina Marie. I feel really guilty about it. It was really snarky. And I feel guilty about what I said about Boyce and his wife. I feel really guilty about talking about them. It made me feel kind of like I'd stabbed them in the back, because I cared about them. And I imagined that they cared about me. And then when I felt that they didn't care about me, I still cared about them. But it still made me snarky. And I was just thinking, about how much we have to take into account emotions as we're planning for the golden age. Because one of the reasons why I was so snarky about Gina Marie is because she's got a huge family. When I had cancer, I was all by myself. Nobody came to help me. I knew I was going to die there, and maybe my family would find out. Maybe they wouldn't, because nobody keeps track of me. Because the European nationalist racism created me as a dangerous person that people couldn't be around. It could ruin your life to be around me. Because the Ivy League was after me, the Skull and Bones, the people that got Alex Jones were chasing me, ruining my life, tracking me, making sure that I couldn't succeed. So last night when I couldn't sleep, and when I woke up today, I just felt really like I had woken up into a far worse situation than the one I went to sleep in, as if that's even possible. And then I got bad news today. I found out today that one of my financial plans for leaving here it just kind of fell apart. And I was really looking forward to leaving here. I really want to leave here. I really do. And it's so funny because judging from what brought me here, the targeting that brought me here, the persecution that brought me here, the unfairness that brought me here, judging from what brought me here, I don't know why. I don't know why I'm imagining that anything is going to be any better if I go someplace else, right? But at least I won't have enemies right outside my door, right? Because I'm pretty sure that he shot me in the eyes. Somebody got me again today, I think, because the pressure here and the way it's falling and the discoloration, it kind of suggests to me that I got shot again. And that's not cool, right? But I'm here all by myself, right? My teeth are falling out. I need to find a decent dentist. I don't know where I'm going to find a decent dentist in America. And I listened to Fleur Brun today, and that was really incredible. She resonated with a lot of what I did in my report today. So I know I'm on the right track in some kind of crazy way. But today I had to deal with the real world and the here and now and what I can expect from my future if we don't have a dramatic change, right? If there are no good ETs that are going to take me into the time traveler community, then I'm going to be right here. I'm going to be right here trying to survive, right? I'm going to be right here trying to live on Social Security, right? When I spent most of my working life in academia, and academia privatized insurance and underpaid the graduate students horribly. So the amount of money I'm entitled to in Social Security is so small that it wouldn't make sense for me to get it now. I pretty much have to wait until I turn 70. And I'll be 68 next month. And I'm going to spend another birthday by myself. And I spent my everyday by myself. And I just felt so jealous because everybody else has people around them. Everybody else has an audience. Everybody else has a family. Everybody else has people around them. You know, when I was in Arizona and I had cancer from my Honda Civic with the atomic engine in it, the 2015 Civic Hybrid. When I was laying on the floor of my apartment in so much pain that I could hardly move, but unable to go to the hospital because who will take care of my dog? And I didn't really trust them. And I knew that if I got the treatment, that I would end up dead in a few months from the poison. And I didn't have anyone to take me home from chemotherapy or help me feed myself when I'm too sick from chemotherapy. And around this time on Facebook, I saw a European politician in Arizona with a huge freaking family. And then I saw my friend Debbie Thompson, who married somebody with, she has a different last name now. And she was my friend in high school in Saskatoon. And she came down to live in Phoenix, Arizona, and then dissed me altogether. And she's got a huge freaking family with grandkids, you know? And I'm thinking, my kids can barely freaking make it. My kids can barely afford one child, not to speak of 3. But the Europeans, they can all have big families. And that was when I realized that I had to tell you. The genocide makes people under attack feel that they can't afford a lot of children. And if they have a lot of children, they can't afford them. But somehow Europeans with less education, less training, less ambition, less motivation are able to live just fine. Debbie didn't go to college. She got an executive degree because her job trained her. And then she got the executive degree just so she could, have some self-respect. But the European system took care of her to make sure that she wouldn't have any financial stress, to make sure that she could have 3 babies if she wanted to. And then her babies could have babies because they're all got guarantees, economic guarantees from the European nationalist racism. So it's kind of hard for me today to listen to Bill Mount because he teaches me so much about American government, but he loads in so much racism that sometimes I think he's Hitler or something. Because he's talking about the Russians making a plan to destroy America. And he says, and they're going to bring a whole bunch of black Muslims in. Did he say that when they brought the Jews in and gave them all those entitlements? Juan Luis Hernandez, he was able to get huge Social Security benefits and hide them. And he has millionaire parents. And he wasn't the only European immigrant that's been able to benefit from Social Security. And that's why it's so funny, because when Bill sees game, he knows game because he played game. It's so funny to hear him talking about the way that the Europeans robbed my people. And it seems that he found some Russian plan that they're going to execute against the Europeans in America, and he's calling them all out. But he's blaming it on black people. What's with that? He's blaming it on black people. And he's really using racism to create a sense of alarm in people. They're going to bring a lot of more black people here. Right? Heaven forbid we create a political coalition of black people, the African Diaspora Coalition. That would be pretty scary. But I was really sad to hear Fleur Brun report that the horrific condition for children in the Congo over the coltan mining, which is needed for the European space program, is abhorrent. That it's even worse than the pictures we're getting from the Gaza Strip. And this is the first time that we've really seen the Arabs suffering. We didn't see it in Desert Storm or Desert Storm 2. So it's really nice that we have made enough gains in media that we can get the story of other races through, so that the Europeans who think that Europe is innocent, they can really see what their people are doing and why everybody's so mad at them. But I felt bad. I felt bad what I said about Gina Marie. I shouldn't have said those things about her, but I'm jealous. I'm jealous. You know, I almost fell today. And if I fell and bumped my head, I don't have a family flying in from all around. Who's got that much money? But she had enough people in her family with money that they could come and be supportive and be a family and love each other. And I'm suffering all by myself most of the time, you know, with a family that's struggling to get to a place where they can afford to help me. So I was thinking, you know, I thought I would be getting out of here by July. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. It looks like I'll be spending my birthday here by myself. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. And I was thinking that even if I do get to leave here, if my bad luck follows me, what difference will it make? If I'm still ostracized, if I'm still ignored, if I still don't have my inheritance, if I don't have any lawsuits against the violators of my human rights, then they're just going to keep coming after me. It's not going to matter where I live. Look at all the places I lived since I left Connecticut, since I left Massachusetts. Look at all the places I've lived, and I've never been able to outrun the damage of European nationalists and the individuals that pursue me and try to make my life hell. And I'm thinking, well, okay, you know, just wait the 2 years for the Social Security and just develop your website again and just really try to launch your business. Right? Oh, so I can get robbed by the IP manager again, like GoDaddy robbed me? I don't think so. Or I can go with Namecheap over in Russia, and they can spend all their time on my open line while I'm trying to get customer service through the chat because nothing's working. And they're spending all that time investigating the network. You can't trust cyberspace, right? And nobody likes me. Nobody likes me. I don't have an audience. I don't have any followers. I've been on social media producing almost daily for 10 years. And I still don't have a following, an audience. I have more enemies than friends out here, right? But I just hold on to them and try to be like, you know, oh, I think you're on my team. And I still harbor those dreams and I still harbor those beliefs. Although I've seen what I have seen, you know. I mean, if you join somebody's live and they shut it off and they do it again and again, you have to assume that they really don't want you on their live, that you make them uncomfortable. So even in cyberspace, I'm an undesirable. And it's not just the targeting. It's not just the individual, the targeted individual targeting. It's something about me that people don't like. There's something about me that makes people stay away from me. And that had me super depressed today, right? It had me feeling so depressed. So when I see people who are popular, it just makes me feel even worse. Makes me feel even worse. So I don't know. If I had become a success, if Sheldon L. Epstein hadn't stopped me, or Illinois Bell had given me my, you know, propers, or Apple had given me my, you know, license for success, if I had been able to become a video game development company or a science fiction novelist, would I be liked any better? You know, people didn't like me in college, for crying out loud. People have never liked me. And there's nothing I can do about it. You know, I can say, well, it's, you know, it's autism. It's autism. Autism is the problem. You know, I don't have appropriate social skills. And I could say that, but it doesn't give me friends, does it? Of course, if I were important or special, people would be around me for what I could do for them. And I guess, you know, that wouldn't have been bad. But to tell you the honest to God truth, I planned to spend my old age doing what I did in my youth, and that's working and doing civic organization work. So I was going to be around people, but not necessarily friends, because I don't usually meet people that work as hard as I do. I don't usually meet people who are as serious-minded as I do. And I don't usually meet people who are as moral as I am. And that's generally why I end up falling out with them, is because of one of those three things. So I can do all the pretending I want that I'm ultra top secret, right? Which is pretty much the narrative I've been spinning out here, is that, well, I don't have any followers, but it doesn't mean nobody's paying attention to me. I'm ultra top secret because, I'm one of the leaders in the resistance. So everybody following me is on the down low, underground. And they can't put their reliance to me, because then they'll be discovered. And it'll break our organization down. And I try to believe that, because it was put into my mind. Oh, somebody behind the wall. But there's no way for me to really know that. And today, when I had to really deal with, my Social Security reality, that although I'm 68 and that money might be good, I can't afford to take it now, because it's going to be worth more in 2 years. But what do you want to bet that the real estate association is going to make the rents go up in 2 years, so that the net effect of more money will be the net effect we're looking at right now, right? And do you really think I'll get my land in Oklahoma? I mean, the courts were going to murder me if I even came into the state, just like in Arizona. So where am I going to go? I can't go back to Connecticut, because Juan Luis has made it very clear to my family that if I show up there again, he's going to have me killed. And his brother, Diego, in the New York State prosecutor's office, is going to try to have me put in jail. So my family's already been warned, if you bring her back, I'm going to get her. He told me that he conquered me. So now he owns that territory. I can't even go home to Connecticut, right? And I can't go back to Arizona, because Tina Ainley will get me with her corrupt court, and the Arizona state troopers will kidnap me, and the bad will follow me all around, right? Oh my goodness, this mic is going off. Okay? So I already know that I'm going to be having a hard time. Even if I make it out, I'm going to have a hard time, because there's no place safe for me to live as long as I'm Silver Rain Runningcloud, right? And when I'm dealing with things in my reality, you see, because the world that I talk about, the audience that I create the exopolitical diplomacy lectures for, I don't know if you people are real or not, do I? I mean, I really don't know. I don't know if they're real or not. I don't know, because I've only had insinuations, and I've latched onto those insinuations because my real life is so dismal that I have to hold on to something, right? I didn't think I could make it through June, but I said, okay, I'm going to get out of here by June. I didn't think I could make it through April and May. But in April and May, I felt like I'm going to be out of here by June. But then by May, I knew I wasn't going to be out of here by June. So by June, I'm thinking maybe by July. Well, now here we are, June 13th. Well, in Arizona, it's 1:58 on June 14th, 1:58 a.m. on June 14th. So here we are on June 14th, and I don't know when I'm going to get out of here. And if I get out of here, where am I going to go that's safe? So Fleur Brun is saying everybody should get out of the United States. The Itche is about to go down, and it's going to be so dangerous here. And Bill and Jane get on and they say you people need to be, prepared for the end of the petrodollar, and the ITSE is going to go down, and that's all I'm hearing, right? All I'm hearing is it if you think things are bad now, Rain, just wait. Just wait and see what's going to be happening next, because things are not going to be getting any better around here. This is not working, this thing. Things are not going to be getting any better around here. In fact, things could well be getting worse, right? I mean, that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. So I'm thinking, well, golly, things are already so bad for me that if things get worse, what am I going to do? They're going to keep shooting me when I go outside, shooting me in the face, till my eyebrows fall down. And they still kind of hurt, too. They still kind of hurt. My tooth is falling out. I mean, come on, baby. So today I was just so mean because I knew something terrible was coming. And by tonight, it hit the ground. My finances are not going to be right. I don't know when I'll be getting out of here. And when I get out of here, I won't be living in any better class. I'll still be living with the criminals at the bottom of the bowl, where the Europeans put me, systematically robbing me. In every decade, at every stage of my life, every achievement I make is stolen from me. Meanwhile, Europeans that don't work as hard, don't do as much, don't have as many credentials, don't achieve as much, they're living wonderfully. They're flying on the airplanes. They're going on vacations. I'm just glad well, I'm not glad about anything, really. I mean, I had a good day in social media, reviewing different broadcasts today. The Young Turks, I like their newscasting, but if I say I like them, they might go away. I say I like Dutch Sense, next thing I know, but Dutch was on tonight. Yay! Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. So glad I started talking about that, because I was about to forget. I was getting so down in the dumps because this is the thing. You might be out there, exopolitical diplomats from every galaxy, dimension, and planet who are interested in helping my people move forward and integrate into the new golden age. But you might not be out there. The reality that Bill is seeing, the reality that Fleur Brun is seeing, the reality that seems most probable for me could be the next set of events. It could very well be that I will not be a time traveler. It could very well be that I will not be leaving here the day after tomorrow. 3 times. The solar eclipse, I thought, okay, I'll be leaving now. I'm sure of it, right? But when I first left Phoenix and headed for Texas with all these, mind control implant thoughts in my head about me and Elon Musk fixing America when he's a Nazi, and I keep proving it until finally when I get to Houston, when I go to Boca Chica and he doesn't show up, I say, okay, that was the last test. Now that was a delusion, now that was a thought form implanted in your mind, just like Bill is talking about that the Russians plan to use psychotronic devices to make Americans unable to detect reality from illusion, their thoughts from implanted thoughts, reality from fantasy. And I know I'm a beta test. So that whole Elon Musk thing, I tested it again and again. And finally figured it out, that that's not reality. And that he is the enemy that I thought he was. And the reason that my gut always got revolted when I thought of him, from the moment I met him, when in the other dimension of himself, he walked into my living room and sat down, distracted with his cell phone, chubby and antisocial. From the moment I saw him, I didn't like him. And it's so funny because the way that he presented himself as an extra dimensional person was exactly the way he presented himself in that video where he's with his wife, his second wife, and his children are fighting. and he's playing with his telephone, totally not there. That was the guy I met. And that was one of the reasons why I felt confirmation that this extra dimensional experience I was having was a validation that I was going to help lead America out of this mess, and that I was going to have a husband. It was going to be Elon Musk. So then when that started going out, Marcus Hyde Cotter, well, that went out really quick, but that was how they brought me out to meet Jesus and then find all of that out. Now, I still stand by that. But the unkind things I said about Gina Marie, especially when she's down, what a biatch. What a stabber in the back. What a low-brow character I am. I'm so sorry. It's the pain I'm living in. It's the jealousy I feel. It's the hopelessness I feel. It's all the bad news I'm getting because I got such bad news today. You know, I got such bad news today that I think I paid it forward. You know, I think I knew bad news was coming. And since it's not karma, because I didn't do anything to deserve all this bad coming upon me, that I hit first, you know. But I also have valid reasons. You know, you keep your mouth shut because you care about people, right? So you don't say some of the things that you really think about them because you care about them. But when I realize that they do not care about me, I feel like I can tell the truth about them like I tell the truth about anybody. But today I was talking to somebody who kept saying, yes, but that's not reality. Stay with reality, because I express the world in terms of my idealistic notions, right? In terms of what I would expect to experience in a golden age society. And I seem to be operating from that framework. And I seem to have been operating from that framework all my life. That I'm always expecting people to be already in the golden age where my mind is. And a lot of people really just aren't. A lot of people are into self-protection and self-profit. And if I had been, then I would be fine today. I wouldn't be living in this hotel. But you want to know what? I would still be subjected to these weapons. I bet you that. I bet you that they'd still be hitting me in the face with these weapons. And still, you know, doing other things maybe. Now, I don't want to go to sleep because I don't want my veins to pop out more in the night and feel my blood burn hot. And I don't want to wake up being microwaved like I do quite often. And I don't want to wake up to this reality and know that it's very likely that I will not be a time traveler, leaving the earth soon to develop plans for the new world and coming back in to make sure those plans come true. I'm going to be just another old lady without enough Social Security to survive, who got jerked around by the system, by reproduction and the time you lose on your job for reproducing and raising your kids, and for the way the system increased the rent and the cost of things, the way they stole my inheritances, the way they wouldn't let me have my land, the way the corporations cheat me. And it's all planned. It's all planned. It is all planned. They don't want us to be happy. So let's talk about the golden age, okay? Because I just can't stop believing that my wildest dreams will come true. And my wildest dreams are being time traveler. I keep calling it Star Trek. But then when Dutch was showing the new Star Trek with Jean-Luc Picard and that douchebag who played his first officer, such a terrible actor. Oh, terrible actor. Terrible actor. Oh, brother. Then I feel like, I don't want to be on Star Trek. And then I think about my relationships with people, right? And I feel like I can't imagine where I'm going to fit in. I can't imagine where I'm going to belong, right? However, if you're the commander, you are already in a class by yourself. So I guess that's why they chose me to be a commander. Because as a commander, I don't have to try to fit in with everybody else, and I don't have to be upset when people don't like me because I'm too different. And there's always the possibility that a lot of them are different too, you know? Like I'm generally a kind person. That's my natural personality. But I wasn't kind to Gina Marie today, and she's suffering. And that made me think of something else. Sometimes people who have extreme trauma, like persecuted people, when other people are hurt or needy, those people know they can't really help, and they run away. They run away from the guy that's hurting. It's kind of like, oh no, you're sinking. You're sinking faster than I am, and I'm sinking already. I got to get away from here because I can't fall with you. You're falling, and I can't fall with you. And I think maybe some of that was in it because, I was thinking it from the point of view that Gina Marie talks about space wars. And whether it's true or not that those things she's seeing, if she's got them identified or not, it was reinforcement for my belief system that I'm getting out of here. So it was valuable to me. But now that she's facing a family emergency and a tragedy in her life, I turn out to be a really bad friend. But I knew I'd be a bad friend when she dissed me, right? When she would leave every time I'd come to her live after I had talked a lot about European nationalist racism, after I had tagged her in one of my broadcasts, she started dissing me. Like, I'm not going to associate with you. You're against European nationalist racism. And it's the reason for my success. So I'm not going to hang around you. So that nail was already in the coffin, okay? That nail was already in the coffin. And as for the other person, well, he insulted me too, Like, I'm in one of Boyce's live streams, and he says, people have to get to the 2.0 level of themselves. Silver Rain, I don't want to see you till you're at 2.0. And he actually said that in his Monday morning meeting. And you know why he said it? I do. I think I know why he said it. And here's where I get confused, and it's the autism. You see, Boyce keeps saying that he's here to help Black Americans achieve prosperity, right? And I'm thinking the best way to achieve prosperity for Black people is to create a separate economic system. That if you've got money, put it in a fund for small business support, and then make your own stocks and bonds system. That if you've got a finance degree, use that finance degree to create an economic system that works for the African diaspora people. Like in Kenya, they've got the development bank, and they're working with the people in West Indies with the development bank concept. Well, that would be something for Black people to become a part of, right? But instead, as Fleur Brun brought out very poignantly, we're getting a lot of propaganda that's saying Africans don't like Blacks, Africans don't trust Blacks, blah, 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 because if the African diaspora people get together, European nationalism is going to have quite a run. They're not going to be able to take that coltan out of the Congo and kill those kids. They're not going to be able to have people digging minerals out with their bare hands for pennies. Because those people are going to have earth movers and pickup trucks and cranes and those little Hellcats that smooth out asphalt, because they got all the raw materials for all of that. They just don't have the know-how and the heavy machines. And those things, the means of production, have been deliberately deprived to them as a result of Marxism. Now, see, I'm here in America, and I know that. And I can tell that. And I can save the Africans an entire group of generations by telling them how European nationalism has worked here, how they've robbed me out of each decade of my success, and how they did it. And then they can avoid all those traps. But more importantly, they can understand how crucial it is for them to use everything in their power to make sure that they're not invaded, because those people are not their friends, and they're never going to be their friends. Just like Gina Marie. Gina Marie, I reach out to be friends with her, but she decides that she can't be friends with me, that she's going to hurt my feelings. And then I see Boyce, right? And he's black, and he's all about, invest, invest, invest. But this is what I asked him that must have pissed him off, because the day after I asked him this, during his Zoom, he said that he didn't want to see people until they reached level 2.0. And then he called me and somebody else out by our names. Silver Rain, I don't want to see you again until you're 2.0. And he stopped sending notifications for his meetings to me. So I knew he was serious. I knew it wasn't just some rhetoric. But this is what I said. I said that when I put some money in Robinhood. And Robinhood said it would take them a week to make those funds available to me. A week to make my full funds available to me. Yet my bank released the funds the very next day, which means that for 6 days, my money was out in limbo. Well, I know from when I worked at the First National Bank of Chicago as a programmer in the trust department. I was a programmer analyst in the trust department at First National Bank, and I studied some of the banking association literature, because Jimmy Alexander, a beautiful man. Oh, golly, he's dark skinned, so handsome. But he had been in the Vietnam War, and he said that they had all the black people carrying dead bodies in that war, and that was what he did. So I guess he had trauma, but he really hit it well. And Jimmy had every single course certification in the American Banking Institute educational program. So I looked through some of the work, and I learned a thing or two about banking. And what I learned is that every night the bank lends out its deposits. Whatever money the bank has, it lends it out overnight to the foreign markets. And the foreign markets invest that money and play that money and put it back by the morning, supposedly, right? So if you've got cryptocurrency exchanges, you can only go to certain, if you want to participate in the brokerage market, and you don't have $100,000 to go with Merrill Lynch, and Charles Schwab gives you back your money like they gave me, because they said I didn't have a good enough credit rating for me to invest to make money, and they gave me my entire $2,000 back, right? $1,700 back. I went and picked up the check. I still have 3 cents in the account, though, because they did the math wrong. So I guess they owe me interest on 3 cents, which could accumulate. But it means they couldn't totally close the books out on me. But they kicked me out of Charles Schwab brokerage, right? So, I'm reduced to the online ones, right? So I tried Webull, and Webull took my money and then sent me through so many changes to try to change my password that I gave up, because they wanted me to let them into my actual bank account, to give them ACH privileges in order to give me my password. They wanted me to go through a credentialing process to get my password. So that $150, it's stuck in there. I don't think I bought any stock, but I didn't want to use that, because I'm listening to Boyce say invest, 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 invest. And it's just getting through to me, right? Even though James Altucher had the best mind control advertising in the industry. I mean, they call themselves Paradigm Press now, but they used to have a name. Before they reorganized, they used to have the best neuro-linguistic programming possible. Even when you knew you were being sucked into a pump and dump, you would go with it, right? Because he'd give you tips. But here's the key. You had to be able to stay in the market for a long, long time, which meant that if you were renting a property and you didn't know that the real estate associations plan to increase the property by 10%, each year, and you have a fixed, your money's fixed, okay, because you're retired and you're trying to start a business with your retirement money, and you're finding out that you can that as soon as you put your money in, the stocks goes down after he's pumped it up and played the drum and gotten all the little people to invest, right? But he knows that we're renters. We're renters because his marketing research tells him the character of his audience that he's direct mailing to. He knows who we are. He knows the demographics. So he knows that come lease renewal time, we're going to be needing to sell. That we're not going to be able to afford to keep our little $1,000 in an account, because we're going to need it to pay the rent that he would have known is rising, right? So when I'm complaining to a better investor than I am, who's a dear loved friend, I'm complaining to this person, and this person says, oh, you got stuck by the old pump and dump, huh? Right? Because his investment club taught him better. His investment club taught him better how to avoid the tricks and the traps that the hawkers of brokerage do. So James Altucher was really clever, because he got me to invest a couple of times, even though I couldn't afford to stay invested, because there was another scam going around about the same time, where maybe I signed up with self-publishing with Chandler Bolt. What a made-up name, huh? And Chandler Bolt wouldn't let me out of the contract. It seemed that, you know how you don't read all those terms and conditions? And he rewrote the terms and conditions and handed a new terms and conditions to my bank that took it at face value and didn't even say, what about the old terms and conditions? Because Chandler had it so that you had to be in a subscription and you couldn't cancel your subscription. So I'm paying $300 a month, and I find out in the first lesson that I can't use his system, because his system relies on using Google Pages, or Google has some kind of a product that they have, and this particular product, Google Sheets, yeah, it was some kind. Okay, he was insisting you use Google Sheets, and my company didn't let me use Google for cybersecurity reasons. We weren't using Google, right? And so I tell them that, and they won't let me out of the contract. They still want the $300 a month, because Chandler's planning to buy a house in Hawaii. That's where I saw him last in disguise. Oh, that's my friend. Okay, that's a good sign. That's a good sign that there is going to be the world that I think is coming, because she's standing right outside my window talking, and she knows me well enough to know that I probably come and look and see who's outside my window talking. And that's somebody I think is with me. I think she's one of the people with me. You know, I think she's one of the guards that helps to protect me out here, because she shows up every time I go outside. She shows up, and if the people are picking on me, she shows up, and she just shows up, and I know her, and she's been here for all the years that I've been here. The whole 3 years I've been here, she's been here, and she's cool. She coordinates with me a lot. But I try not to mention it, because I don't want, her to be exposed. Because like I said, a lot of our success has depended on secrecy and not acknowledging each other. That's why I feel really bad, because it's very possible that Boyce and Gina are on my team, but just keeping their distance deliberately because they don't want me to get too close. But it's also possible that I did things that made them upset, which I'm telling you about. The reason that I talk about this in Exopolitical Diplomacy instead of the story of Silver Rain Runningcloud is because everything I do now is directed towards the future, is directed towards teaching the other world people about our culture, about our psychology, about the things that make our inner terrain. Because as we redesign the future world, we're going to have to take this into account. If we know that if you are genociding one group of people So their family is a war zone. Their family is a wreck, and their people are dying young, and their people are dying from suicide, and their people are going to jail, and it's all you're doing from your social engineering. Then the people are going to hate the people in your culture that get the benefits, that get the house, that get the security, that get the big social security check, that don't need the goddamn social security check because they've got good investments and didn't get pumped and dumped as little people in their old age being preyed upon because they know a desperate person is going to try it. And if you make enough promises and then you watch and you see them going rising, and you say, I'm going to get in this, right? But you totally forget that you got to pay tuition for your kid, right? Because you didn't get your financial aid. So you're going to have to take all your money out of the market and give it to the university that's charging you a fortune for nothing because you got to pay for your kid. And you think a pump and dump artist doesn't know that and know exactly when to get you to feel when you feel like you can afford it and when you find out that you can't, but you still are paying into the system? Ouch, right? So I'm in this point where I'm thinking that Boyce isn't just about the old pump and dump, right? I'm at the point where I'm thinking that he spends so much time talking about other things and not selling his business that maybe, and plus I'm getting ready to invest, right? I'm getting ready to invest and I'm looking at Robinhood and I'm getting ready to invest and I do all the research I can, and nowhere did Robinhood say it's going to take 7 days for you to get access to your money and we are not going to pay you interest. That means, from what I learned from banking, that for 7 days, Robinhood had access to my money to invest however they liked. And when you are in that position in the market, you know where to put a couple of thousand for an overnight success. You know what to do. And if you're collecting that much money from everybody working with you, then aren't you just cheating? Aren't you cheating? Because you're also going to take a piece of the sales. So you're going to get paid for your brokerage, but you're also going to steal when the people come into the market. I come in ready to buy, but I can't buy. I have to wait. So any rises or falls on investments I would make, I'm deprived of them because Robinhood is keeping my money for 5 days. 7 sleeps. 7 sleeps, they're keeping my money. Because my bank already gave it up. My bank is no longer investing my money. My money's in outer space somewhere. No, my money's in Robinhood, but they're not letting me have it for 7 days. So I asked on one of Boyce's, on one of his presentations, because he was doing a whole bunch of presentations, and he's talking about money, he's talking about investing. And I'm thinking that he honestly cares about us as investors. I'm thinking that he's actually trying to teach us how to be smart investors, right? So I'd asked him again and again and again, not asked him, but I wanted to ask him, who should I borrow? Who's a good company? Who's a good company? But I just finally settled on Robinhood because Webull cheated me. And I think there was, and Coinbase robbed me. So I wasn't going to go with Coinbase because Coinbase robbed me of $500 and directly accessed my bank account using Plaid, and I rejected Plaid. So they're just spreading my financial information and ACH, which is direct access, which is how the Self-Publishing Club was able to take my money out of my account after I told them to stop. Because I had signed an ACH agreement, they had direct access to my bank. So they could take all the money they wanted based on the contract, but I didn't. But they changed the contract to say you cannot get out of it. So next time I saw Chandler Bolt, he'd gained about 10 pounds, grown his hair, lost some hair, gained some hair, and was having another name and living in Hawaii, right? Because he came in, ran that scam about Self-Publishing Club, hooked a whole bunch of people in a subscription service for almost $300 a month. You'll have your book in 3 months, but the subscription to his service lasts longer than 3 months, right? And I learned on the first freaking day that I use his service. On the first freaking day I use his service, I find out I cannot use his service because his service is dependent on Google. And I don't want Google in my business. I don't want Google downloading my books. I don't want Google, right? I mean, I'm using Google because they bought YouTube. And I use Google for the internet searches because they're the best. They took over the market. But I looked at Google's Bard, and that's propaganda. I've looked at Google's data, lots of propaganda. So I'm still not a Google fan. It's just that they're the monopoly. So we don't have any choices. And they've created a dominated space, and they've built out so they can never be removed like an AT&T, like all the other guys. And when you've got corporate behavior where a group of Europeans move up and then they move out and you can't get any small businesses in through there, then you have just canceled out the most talented people in your population, the entrepreneurs, the ones that are going to invent, create, and make things happen. You've just canceled them out, right? I mean, you can steal from them while they're young, while they're too young to know. You can be a Sheldon Epstein and poach outside their schools and institutions. But at the end of the day, the European corporations are going to own all the information. You know, I was listening to somebody, I'm sure I've told you about them, talk about how one Dr. Stephen Greer. I'm listening to him talk, Stephen talk. I'm listening to him talk about how many corporations bought out land breaking research, and they bought it out and then dunked it underground so that we could all be manipulated by this economic system that's meant to hold indigenous people down and make slaves out of the rest of the Europeans. Well, that system would have to be gone with the Golden Age. In the Golden Age, we'd have to have room for innovation and room for small business. In the Golden Age, we would have to have the understanding that every business is going to outlive its usefulness, and it should not be prolonged. We should not keep a business on life support so that we keep all their customers trapped. And a business should not charge more than it costs to run it, plus a modest profit. It should not cost more than that, right? But we've got investors getting dividends, and we're paying those dividends out in the price for the product. Those dividends come from you and me, right? So I'm at the point where I'm getting brainwashed. I'm going to put some money in the market. One reason is because, I'm trying to save money to move. But if the hackers around here who hack into my phone on the regular see my bank account balance, they might kill me and take over my identity. That was why I didn't want to apply for Social Security while I was living here, because I didn't want them to murder me like they murdered my cousin Fanny in Arizona to steal her benefits and pretend she's still alive. And it's just a scam. It's a whole criminal industry, is that you steal the identity of old people and then collect their benefits like you're them. And if they don't have close ties to family and nobody's going to miss them, well, those are your victims. And Fanny was like that, and so am I. So I knew I'd be targeted. So I didn't want to have too much money laying around. So I was looking for, what I really want to do, though, is buy some African currency, because I would rather invest in Africa than invest in the United States of America privately owned stock market. And when you hear, Bill and Flair Brun and everybody else say that the petrodollar's dying, well, what do you think of that? I think that a responsible society would have a safety net. But we have enough homeless people dying on the street to know that there is no safety net. They don't have a safety net for us. So then I think, well, isn't this kind of an end time strategy? If people aren't going to be around and you get your kicks out of starving them, when you starve them for kicks, when you torture them for kicks on the way out, so that feeds in again to this cataclysmic event. Well, in a golden age, I believe that a company should not outlive its usefulness, okay? Just like a lot of African cultures build their homes out of the mud, and I don't know if they still do this, I know a lot live in the city, but in the rural areas, you can still get a mud hut. And you don't sell your mud hut for generations, right? You build your own home. And I really think we should be able to do that, because there are so many properties in America that need serious repair. But the real estate industry is already decided they're just going to increase the price on it. And the people living in these homes are miserable. There were so many miserable people living in mansions that were pretty much condemned wrecks in Woodbridge. People with holes in their floor because the plumbers didn't know how to fix the plumbing. And the plumbing job probably required replumbing. But it's hard to replumbing when you've got plumbing neatly hidden behind walls. How many walls are you willing to break down to fix your plumbing? To replace lead pipes with PVC pipes? To replace those rusted pipes, right? And then the black mold. So wouldn't it have made a lot more sense for people to say your house depreciates like your car, and there's going to come a point where you're just going to want to liberate that property and build yourself a brand new home, right? I mean, some homes, are amazing and fantastic, and you want to keep that. Like the difference between a city home and a country home. You want to keep things like that. But here's another idea that I have for the golden age. There are a lot of super big homes all across the Northeast that could be excellent dormitory style homes for senior citizens that are capable of taking care of themselves, but who are restricted to a very low pension or social security check, but had lives of, had classy lives when they were younger, and depending on their jobs and thinking that their jobs were going to hold them, or that at least be a safety net, or they're at least going to be able to hold on to their property like their parents did before the savings and loan robbed their parents and Bernie Madoff. It's like every generation, they've got an end of your life surprise to make sure you're robbed. Be it stealing the trust you leave for their children, like they did for my mother. And that was another thing about Boyce and all the people on his team and his subsidiaries and his affiliated companies. They all know about me and my story. They all know my trust fund was robbed, yet they still talk about life and finances as if trusts can be trusted, right? My mother spent her life saving her money so she'd have something to leave me and my children and their children and their children. My mother spent years wisely acquiring land and building generational wealth. And Boyce is always talking about generational wealth, generational wealth. Well, my mother achieved it and she got robbed. Now, if you really cared about people, you wouldn't tell them keep investing. You would say, hey, we need to fix this system because Silver Rain Runningcloud got robbed. So we have to have some kind of actions. Let's boycott the stock market. Let's invest in our own companies. Let's have a lot of lawyers who know the law but aren't in the bar so they can come up with our legal strategies. And we can defend ourselves but not be held under the British accreditation registry with our loyalties. We need to create a separate system. But, to me, if I had my degree in finance, like Boyce, with my personality, that's where I would be going. I would be using my education to develop an economy that would benefit my people. And the story of Silver Rain Runningcloud being robbed of her inheritance, of her trust fund, that's a story I'd be telling. I'd be telling that story a lot, because I would want all the rich people investing, all the people capable of investing, I'd want them to know what happens in America and what happens in American courts, because they might find it better to join an African development bank and invest in the West Indies, where you can have people like my former housekeeper who became a millionaire and then got dragged down by the Connecticut real estate criminals that made her the fall guy. What about her brilliance? What about her ambition? Jamaica's full of people like that. A delegate from Jamaica went to the did she go to India? No, she didn't go to India. She didn't go to the She didn't go to the presidential oath taking in India. No one from America went, but I would have been there. I would have been there totally. And you know why no one from America went to see Narendra Modi given the oath? Because the East Indians are a big threat to the Europeans. And the Americans are a European nationalist, conquered nation of peoples. We are owned by the European nationalists, right? Now, things get confusing when we take into account the evil ETs who are supposedly the powers behind the powers, the hidden hands, right? But we've already heard and we've seen from the picture of the British king covered in blood, and from other things we've heard from the underground, we've heard that a lot of those guys are being taken out, right? Since the good ETs got here, the European nationalist white hats have been fighting and getting rid of the reptilians in Europe, right? That was part of what the Ukrainian war was about, right? But we've got the blood and bone, the skull and bones guys here with Biden. We're making sure that instead of our money financing us, it's financing them. But imagine we take those great big houses and we turn them into dormitory style group homes that have enough privacy for each person so they're not up under each other's feet. And if there's someone in the house that you hate their guts, you don't really have to see them very much. But you're still in a group living situation. And that would go very far. For one, that would let people make friends with each other and have a community, especially if you used a matching system to gather the residents. If you used a matching system to get people who like to do the same things, people with basically the same needs for alone time and social time, people with basically the same temperaments, to become a little family, and then put them in one of these big magnificent houses. And if you have 2 houses, do you really need 3? You know what I'm saying? Until everybody has a house, perhaps everyone should only have 2 houses at the most, you know, your house in the city and your house in the country, if that's how you want to do it, right? And timeshare, tried to deal with that. You know, my mom left me a timeshare too. She left me a timeshare too. Now, if I were Boyce and I was honestly sincere about helping Black people create generational wealth, I would do something about Silver Rain Runningcloud. I would really be an advocate for me if I were him. And I would be using my finance education that gives me the insider view of the European system to create a system for the American people that works for us, that works for the American Indians and the American Blacks, that lets us protect our land with covenants and deeds. You know, Boyce could have done all that. But instead, he wanted to do what the Europeans do, but just do it with Black people. So his benefit, one reason why he keeps growing and why the Europeans don't target him and mess with him, and he can still get on the plane, and why he doesn't get shot in the face with bioweapons or put in a concentration camp for knowing too much and helping his race, is because he's bringing in so many Black people who don't make a lot of money. He's bringing so many of them into the stock market that he's benefiting the European economy. So they want him there, right? It's like Marcus Garvey telling all the indigenous Americans that they're Africans and should go back to Africa, and collecting money and creating propaganda to reinforce the slave myth and make people think that they have a home in Africa when they really have been in America for thousands, maybe millions of years, right? Okay. I'm so sad I don't have an audience here. I really am. I feel so ignored, so neglected, so delusional. But now I'm remembering I saw my person outside the window, and she was right in front of my window where she knew I'd be looking. And she was right there, and I know she saw me. So I'm just going to take her as the proof that I'm not alone, that my fantastic future will really come true. So let's go on with the planning. So as a part of the golden age, when we get back, we're going to take some of those great big homes, especially the ones that the evil people possessed, like the whole town of Newtown, that kind of thing. There's a lot of towns like Newtowns. Goshen has a lot of second homes. Vermont has a lot of second homes. There are a lot of places where we're going to be able to find second homes to house senior citizens looking at homelessness or looking at living in poverty that's uncharacteristic to the rest of their lives, like me. You see, I grew up a succeeder and then was pushed out of the bottom to live at the bottom of society with criminals that I don't understand, that find me a threat and I find them threatening, that attack me, with bioweapons, that make my eyes fall down, that make my face jowly. That make my teeth fall out. But let me repeat once again, this would have happened wherever I was living because I was targeted. Juan Luis moved into my home in Woodbridge, Connecticut. I cannot go back to my home in Woodbridge, Connecticut because Juan Luis and Diego have threatened to hurt me if I move back. And they're both descended, they're first generation Argentinian Jews. First generation Argentinian Jews, but they conquered Woodbridge. I can't have my home there. I have to live in this hotel in Houston. And who knows where after that. That's why if I don't hurry up and get the fuck out of here, you know what I'm saying? It's either real or it isn't. And if it's real, we really need to get moving with this plan because I cannot stay here. I cannot live here. Do you understand? And when I think about it, there's no place else for me to go. There's no place for me to go that's going to be safe because everywhere I might go, European nationalist racists will be there waiting for me. Right? Alex Murdow, that's his name, isn't it? Okay, Murdow, the man who shot his wife and son, and they're occupying all that Geechee land. It's almost like they made Daughters of the Dust to announce that the Europeans were going to be getting rid of those communities and depriving those people of their ancestral rights to those lands and any profits that come from those lands. But when I, saw them driving around all these canals and acting like they own everything and having these great big huge estates, I knew they'd wipe the people out, right? Let's not talk about it. Let's talk about the solutions. The solutions. What are the solutions? Well, when we come back, we certainly can't force all the Europeans to live in Europe, can we? But we really can't have them go on the way they are either. They need to understand that the property they live on belongs to my family and my people and not to them. And once they no longer have initiatory force, and once they no longer have fiat cash, and once they no longer have British control of the courts and European control of the courts and law enforcement, then they're going to have to deal with the fake titles, the fake deeds, and all the other stuff. And they've been working fast to replace original documents in the books. Don't think they haven't. Because in Wewoka County, they were already forging new pages to put into the book. And because of the criminals in cyberspace, my photographic record of it is impossible to find in my photo library. But it does exist. And I can only think that with an advanced civilization comes advanced ability to search the cloud and deal with it. Think of all the people in Africa who are buying cell phones and contributing to the blockchain. And think of all of the Europeans who are going to use the blockchain against the Africans, right? That's something else, isn't it? But Africa and the rest of the world does need some kind of system of economic exchange, right? And I think that maybe they have the best solution happening in China with that electronic payment system that is universal. The Fell, is that his name? Fell, the gentleman in China, who's visiting China, and he speaks fluent Chinese, and he loves to freak the Chinese out, and he says hi to everybody, and he talks to everybody, and everybody loves him. He's not the only one doing a YouTube video of a Black African in China, but he's the one that I looked at. And he just uses his phone to make his financial transactions. I'm sure that there's a way that we can have a financial exchange system developed. When we look at companies like Amazon.com, they become perfect models that can be easily adjusted because Amazon is already dealing with import, export, delivery, and different currencies. So they already have an infrastructure being built. The thing that we have to watch for is to make sure that it remains fair and equal to everyone across the world in every nation, and that there's some fair system of exchange, which to me means that every people's is going to have some kind of representative. Maybe if we have enough data processing, we could have this at a community level where there can certainly be some algorithms that can determine relative value of things. But we're also going to find that there's some things that we just don't need. Now, I'm just going to move on now. Like I said, I don't want to go to bed. And I know that Dutch Sense won't be having a party tonight, but he was on earlier, and he is who I want to talk about. Dutch Sense is so smart. He's just absolutely incredible. And he's been showing us tonight, he showed us all these star forts. And he showed us star forts that he never showed us before. And he showed us symmetries in the continents. And he showed us enough proof that all across this planet were structures that he's calling star forts. And that you can see the remains of them now. And that a lot of Europeans at the military level, guided by the evil ETs, already knew where these star forts are. Excuse me. In fact, Apple has built an installation right on top of, right on one of these star forts. And Dutch, check him out. Check out what he did tonight. He said he was going to save his show from tonight because he had so much good data in it. And I swear to God, it's true. You really need to see it. If you want to understand the whole star fort thing, that's the place to go, is what Dutch did today. What Dutch did on June 13th. That's the show you want to watch, because he really showed us these structures and you could see them. You could see that there were actual buildings there. And I really liked it because yesterday I was telling you that there was some kind of catastrophic event that sent a mothership directly into Arizona and Nevada, and you can see the scar on all the land. Well, Dutch was showing us other scarred lands and the remnants of things. And he was showing us what the European military did to develop it, to harness the energy, right? So then I'm thinking about the European Russian that talks about a class 1 society that uses its energy to the most. And I was wondering, well, maybe that is true. Maybe Earth became a planet because in the cosmology of the advanced beings, this was an asteroid or something, or a certain kind of a place. And they came here and created this thing called Earth. And when Earth was first created, it had star forts and pyramids, right? For energy delivery and energy distribution. And maybe Earth was always just a battery, right? But then you needed people, to work the utility. But maybe, when I see Gina Marie, I am sorry that she's having a tragedy. I really am. But when people hurt your feelings in your most vulnerable spots, like you're looking to connect, and they reject you, I got triggered, and I still have hard feelings against her and Boyce too, because I think Boyce is seriously misdirected. I think he's seriously misdirected. But it's possible that he's just a recruiter for the underground. And this is the way that he's going about identifying who belongs with us and who doesn't. Because if you come out talking about investing and you talk about intelligent people, you're going to gather a certain kind of audience. And that's the audience that we want to recruit from. So, I'm not putting them out of the game altogether. And I'm just sort of talking about my personal feelings, because my personal feelings are exactly why I lashed out at them and said what I had to say about them. And the other reason is because I really wanted to get it off my chest. I really wanted to get it off my chest. I remember once, because of I'm autistic, whatever you want to make of that. It's very hard for me to do social lies, okay? You know how two people might not like each other and you're friends with both of them, and then they tolerate each other when you're around, but they're sabotaging each other behind each other's backs, and you have to deal with both sides of that? Well, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do it. Because when one of my best friends did not like my husband and knew my husband from the time they were children, when they would be, beating each other up behind each other's backs, I would just bring it out when they were together. I would just bring shit out when they were together and make them deal with it themselves, because my communication skills, that's a mind boggle for me. I get boggled. I get to the point where I can't compute. I don't, I go tilt. I go tilt like a pinball machine. I can't do it. I remember my mother too getting a little angry at me because my stepfather used to talk to me for relationship advice with my mom. And I always gave him the best advice that I could to keep them together. And I thought keeping them together required a certain amount of honesty between them. And my mother would say, "Stop talking to him about me." She got really upset because, that wasn't her way of operating. And that wasn't his way of operating. So I would tell him straightforward strategies, and then he'd use them against me in an argument. And then my mother would be mad at me because I messed up something, because she, game knows game. Game knows game. They were playing games with each other and getting me involved. So I'm not good at that. So my golden age includes finding homes for mothers. And when I say finding home for mothers, yeah, young mothers, Money for Mothers was one of the programs that I was promoting, and that's wonderful. But I'm talking about old mothers, mothers that raised their children, and they raised millennials and other children that were socially programmed to leave and never come back, or mothers that were targeted individuals whose children were programmed to leave and never come back, because those women need homes. They were victims of divorce. They're a part of this whole culture that never got around to making their checks equal as the feminists wanted, but we're in a real big hurry to have prenups and divorce settlements, right? Which, left a woman out of the most financially productive years of her man's life, right? He's going to make more money when he's older than he does when he's young. And I'm not, trying to sound like a gold digger, but if you don't consider financial security when you're choosing a husband, then you might find yourself suffering, and a lot of us are suffering. So a lot of older women need homes, but we don't need homes in the ghettos that the World War II refugees from Germany created for us when they took over the real estate industry. Bill Mount talks a whole lot about giving money to Black people, but does he know how much money America gave the Jews to settle them in here? And how much money is still being used for Jew mental health and Jew medicine for the different diseases that are particular to Jews and not to Americans who pay the bills for them, or at least did until they became financially dominant and left us to fall out of the bottom. So one thing I can see, that if we were to go away and then come back with no gap in time for most of the people on earth, although a lot of time would have gone by for you and me, I think that we should think about redistributing real estate in such a way where women like me, women in my class, women my age who do not have financial security can have homes with little gardens where they can grow their vegetables if they like, or a community garden that will harvest things and everybody comes out for harvest day, uh, kind of like pioneer style, kind of like pioneer style. But this is for a sense of purpose and a sense of community, as well as providing food, right? And then there could even be cafeteria style eating in each house or in a restaurant near the houses. Wouldn't that be cool? If there were restaurants near the houses where all the girls and guys in these big beautiful homes with just a room, so you can always see your neighbor down the way, but it's not set up like an apartment. It's not cold and cut off like an apartment. It's more like you're living with your family, only they're not thieves or crooks or spies, because they've all been vetted to have the qualities of character that you need to be a citizen in a golden age. Is that too much to ask? Did I go too far with that? Because if we go and come back to this very same place in time, we're going to be dealing with a lot of people that are not going to qualify, right? So we'd almost have to create, a hidden golden age while we bring everybody else up to speed, which is very, very possible. But these are the things we're going to have to talk about. These are the things we're going to have to plan. I'm getting started now because I don't want to go to sleep. I don't want to wake up with my teeth hurting. And I know now that this morning I woke up feeling so horrible and so funky because I was going to get really super, super bad, devastating news today. And I did. I got super devastating news today, right? So if you haven't seen the Starfort lecture and presentation by Dutch Sensi, that's DUTCHSINSE, you must watch it. It's a must watch, okay? Flair Brune today, totally worth the time. Totally worth the time, okay? I don't know if she's got the whole story right, but she's got enough of it right, because she's saying that you should leave America, and that's just not going to be feasible for a lot of us. So a lot of people are going to feel pain that they can't leave and they can't escape what's coming. But if my dreams come true and I'm a time traveler and me and my team duck out of here and find all the solutions and bring them back to this moment in time, you won't have to flee America because it'll all be fixed by tomorrow, right? Because 20 and back, do that 2 or 3 times if necessary, so somebody says they did, right? So if we believe that all the things in Stephen Greer's disclosure are true, and if we believe the informants that Michael is bringing to us, and the informants that, and the information Flairburn brings, and the information, other information that we're getting as a part of this disclosure, Linda Moulton Brown, Sunbow True Brother, Sunbow True Brother, and the Sasquatch. If we listen and we believe all these things are true, then it's really easy for us to believe that we can have this golden age and that we can achieve this golden age on Earth with time travel and social engineering and social architecture. And when we look at the Earth and we see all of those star forts that Dutch Sensi has identified, we realize that this planet has been around for a super duper long time. And maybe all the power on this planet has already been exploited. And that's why the star forts, are destroyed. And maybe there's a mothership under Arizona that's going to rip its way out of the world, because we don't even know how the Earth was started. Maybe it was an asteroid that was terraformed to become an energy generator. And maybe, when all of the minerals and resources have been extracted, maybe this project ends, because I also remember now, oh my God, I had totally forgotten it. But when I was in Arizona and the ETs were first coming in, my crew, that was what they were telling me about the destruction of the earth, right? They were saying this was always just a corporate project. It was super long term, but the employees are coming back now, and the project's being liquidated and shut down because we got everything on earth that we are going to get. All the gold is gone, all the silver is gone, all the precious minerals on earth are gone. We took everything and there's just a shell. And that was one of the things that they told me. But that was around the time they were telling me, it's going to be me and Elon Musk. And I'm thinking, are you kidding? That womanizing baby maker who doesn't even connect with human beings, who repeats everything like a robot and never goes into depth. But I'm just following the plan, right? I'm just following the plan because my goal is to save the Earthians. And I don't care if it's just the ones that get to escape a dying planet or if it's everybody. I don't know what the investment is. I just know that I am prepared to do either job, right? Of community leader and social architect, whether it's on another planet for the refugees from Earth, another galaxy for the refugees from Earth, or as intergalactic anthropologists, because there are a whole lot of them here collecting, the data from this civilization that we created. There are a lot of them here. And that's why I hesitate, that's why I feel a little bad about the attack, because it's very likely that the people I'm attacking will be with me in my future as a part of my team. And they might be mad at me for saying, boys, you're not dealing with the real issues that are going to create generational wealth in the Black community if you're not dealing with the story of Silver Rain Runningcloud and Andre Martin Tepetti and Isaac Martin Tepetti and Llewellyn Latimer Green Tepetti. If you're not telling that story of Lima, Oklahoma, a destroyed colored city, of Rutherford County and Polk County in the Carolinas, and how many Black people actually still own land there, if they go through the records and the heritage and get rid of all the frauds that came in and created fake paperwork. Because we have enough fake paperwork to undo for centuries in America, because not one single claim can be called valid unless it was even Manhattan. Remember how much the Europeans brag about selling Manhattan for some trinkets? We didn't understand the idea of owning land, because this is a land of land abundance. But I'm still working with a bifurcated plan. I'm still working with a plan that says the earth goes on, and a plan that says the earth does not go on. But I'm getting a lot more weight in on the earth goes on because I'm planning for it. Okay? And it cannot go on the way it is now. It cannot go on with me trapped in this hotel room, because I'm gonna, you understand me? I cannot live here. It's been too long. And I've said that since I got here. So we'll see. I always find the reserve, and, my loved ones say, be strong. You can do it. You can do it. You can get through this last bit. We're almost there. We're almost there. We're almost there. But where is the question? If we're almost in the future, as it looks to be right now, with no major changes taking place, then that's not any place that I can survive. So it's got to change, right? And it can't change along the way that Bill Mount is predicting. and the way Fleur Brun is predicting, because those ways are the ways of destruction in the end. And there's no place for me to live in those worlds. And I've considered that. What, maybe I won't have any place to live. Maybe my story really is just about being a bioweapons test dummy, the beta test for the, for the complete destruction of the real American heirs and heiresses, where even the courts are sort of corrupted and the media is so corrupted that nobody even sees the smoke from your teepee. And that's how I'm feeling, That's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling that the loneliness and ostracization and alienation and by myselfness alone is killing me. And even when I imagine that I'm resonating with a larger audience, I don't have any proof of that. You know how hard people work to connect when they're not connected to anything, and how easy it is to imagine. I knew a girl, in fact, at Yale University, that crazy European girl who forced herself on me. She used to imagine that boys had a crush on her, and when they didn't show up for coffee because they didn't want to date with her, she couldn't understand it. She couldn't understand that people were rejecting her and people didn't like her. And she wasn't physically attractive to boys. And there was nothing she could do about it. She couldn't change her body. She couldn't change her face. She couldn't change her personality, just like me, right? Although they did change my face. And she would be outraged over the rejections. Outraged. But it didn't stop people from rejecting her, right? But she became a professor out in California. So you know that her students keep her company and the other academics keep her company. And the students would admire her for grades. So she can pretend that she's liked, and maybe she is liked. I just know she betrayed me, A lot of people do. But she was one of them. And her brother sexually molested me at his own wedding party. And when I told her, she got mad at me. Excuse me, I was dancing with her brother at the engagement party, and he was able to have the engagement party at Yale University in one of the exclusive private banquet rooms at Yale University, where I couldn't get any room in there. And the money, and these are anyway, her family had money in Stratford. Her father lived right near downtown Stratford. So he was big in the community in one of the guard houses right on the front near the green. And so she gets to Yale and studies African American studies because there's not going to be much competition for her there. She'll get in and she'll get a job because she'll be one of the few Europeans, and they'll be looking to fill all the jobs with Europeans. So she knew she could make it like that. And her brother sexually molested me at the wedding, and I took it as a sign of racism. I danced with him, and he squeezed my behind in a long-lasting kind of a way. And I didn't smack him. No, but his wife-to-be was right there. And I found it really degrading. So when I go to the wedding, her entire family ignored me. And they made her sit at the reject table. Okay? And she was grossly underdressed. And I was dressed right. But it was a hot pink suit. So I felt with a white blouse. Great for work, but really kind of loud for Poughkeepsie, New York. So at the wedding, she gets a hotel room with a queen-size bed, and I think that she's trying to hit on me a little bit. So I kind of have some words with her. And while we're having these words, I said, yeah, but your family wasn't even nice to me. And your brother sexually molested me at the engagement party. And she went off the deep end. She said, that's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. But it wasn't a lie at all. Her brother sexually molested me at the engagement party. And I took it as racism. I took it as a sign of disrespect. I took it as him saying, oh, black women, that's sex. That's sex without consequences. That's sex without paying your respects. That's children you don't acknowledge. But I think she was really mad because she knew I wasn't going to be seduced by her. Because by then she was starting to think maybe I should give up men altogether. Maybe I can get a girl. And she knew that I was in a kind of sad relationship. So maybe she thought I was a lesbian, I don't know, or wanted to be one. I know that one of my other girlfriends, well, our kids were friends. She started checking all these books out of the library about, lesbians and threesomes. And I made distance from her over that. That's not my thing at all. And yeah, so that's how we stopped being friends. So there's always some reason why I don't have friends. But I end up with no friends. And it's because I'm so different. But I think that my differences are going to make me just perfect for planning a new golden age, if that's what's coming for us. And considering how many times this earth has been remodeled and reshaped, who knows? Maybe we're reshaping it again, right? But I still have this one more question, and then I'll call it a night. I keep hearing about millions and millions and millions of people dying, but I don't see millions and millions and millions of graveyards, which makes me think that dead bodies in war end up on the alien meat market, right? I mean, if we've got extraterrestrials in deep underground dungeons where they have actually been growing people, wouldn't it be only fair to think they also butcher and market people? And that a lot of the human trafficking of war victims is fulfilling the contracts for meat. In fact, I thought that maybe one of the reasons why there is such a strict timetable for war is because they've got to fulfill those commodities contracts. See, in the commodities market, you buy futures. You say, okay, I'm going to buy 10 million right arms in 10 months. And then you pay on that. And whatever the market difference is, that's your profit, right? But you make the contract here, and then it gets delivered at that price. And that's how the commodities market at the Mercantile Exchange worked in Chicago, the traders in the commodities. So if you've got human meat as a commodity in an intergalactic supply chain, then they're going to have contracts for meat. And so you're going to have a war, aren't you? And if there's a special marinated kind of meat, you might have to make sure everybody gets the same vaccine so that all the meat comes pre-marinated or barbecued flavored or whatever it is that they're selling, whatever's trending. Because just like we sell beef jerky and cows, steaks, just like we sell chicken legs and pork chops and lamb chops, out there's somebody selling human meat to species in the galaxy that eat human meat. And we would be stupid to think that there aren't some. I mean, look how delicious we look. Right. And if you saw the wife, the cook, the thief, and her lover, and you actually saw these sickos prepare a human body to be served as dinner and make the lover eat, she had to eat her lover. Her sadistic husband made her eat her lover and had her lover cooked up by the best gourmet. It was a very sick movie. But there was a lot of truth in it, right? Because then we had Abramovich with Spirit Cooking, and she made it very obvious that she wanted, and there was even a restaurant in New York City that was advertised selling human meat. So we know. And also, if you listen to Carrie Cassidy, One of the things that her people would frequently allude to but never fully disclose, because it was in the pre-disclosure days. Carrie started her career in the pre-disclosure days, so she had to be very guarded about a lot of the things that she said. But they pretty much insinuated that there's a human meat market. But think about how war, and they say this many millions of people died, right? And look at those Arabs. Wouldn't they be tender, delicious brown meat? Right? Like chicken wings. Little Arabs, yummy. Big fat people. You know how they used different kinds of food with Polynesian people to make them really fat? What is so you can get honey glazed Polynesian? You understand what I'm saying? I know it used to bother me a lot more to think of it and talk about it, but I'm just trying to impress upon you that if millions of people are dying, where are their bodies? Disposing of 1 million bodies. Do you know how much manpower it takes to bury 1 million bodies? Just think about it. And if you're in a war-torn, devastated land with burned out buildings, and they're saying 1 million people died here, where are their bodies? Well, their bodies are on the meat market. Their bodies are to fulfill a commodities contract. And I think that's why everybody just felt Biden had to win. Because if that contract wasn't fulfilled and they reneged on that contract, I don't know what would have happened. They might have come here and taken the meat. They might have come here and killed all of us for violating the contract. I don't know what would have happened. But I believe that as the petrodollar dies, and as the goody teas are here, and they understand that we are intelligent, we are sentient, we are not unevolved pieces of meat, I'm thinking that there could be an end to war on Earth, and we could have a chance to rebuild our humanity and to still live here on Earth. But then there's always the feeling that Earth is not what we think it is in the first place. That Earth is an asteroid that they terraformed and that sent employees at different levels to strip this asteroid of its assets before moving on to the next asteroid. What do you think of that? Did I blow your mind tonight? Gee, I'm going to get off, and I sure hope Dutch Sensei's on, but I know he probably isn't. But I hope he is, because I'd love to spend, a few minutes with him. I'm a little tired now, but I used to, find Dutch Sensei around now, especially after a broadcast, and have a good time. And the last time I was with him, boy, did I have fun. I mean, the last party. But today I was with him, and it was all about education, and boy, did he deliver. He delivered a great education about the star forts, and it will change your complete concept about the Earth and what it is, and who made it, and what they made it for, and what the United States military is doing with all of those installations on those star forts of all the places they could be. They have established all of these energy intensive operations, atomic bombing operations on top of star fort property. Dutch explains it much, much better. Well, I hope I've given you a lot to think about. And I really hope to God that if we're leaving soon. And the only indications I keep getting is we're leaving. And whether we're leaving to come back to this place and time with solutions, that would be so cool. I would be so happy to be able to fix everything for everybody and then come back and have it implemented and have everybody live the life that they were looking forward to. And all the women my age, you don't have to die because there's no place for you and you don't have enough money and the medical system will help you die. That if you have cancer, you'll just go along with it because you need a way out. You're not going to have a life like that. Not when I get back, right? Not when I get back. So I hope there's something to come back to. But some people are saying there's going to be a pole shift and that it's going to destroy human life. And if that's the case, I still get out. Or I don't, right? I either stay here as a beta test, bioweapons concentration camp victim and then leave here and go someplace else and live the same life that I did in Phoenix and San Diego and Connecticut, pursued by the enemies, or the enemies will be defeated and wiped out and we'll have a new fresh start here. Or we'll be relocating to another planet. And we'll still have to have a structure and an architecture because it will still be a wilderness. Well, I don't want to be alone, but I know you've got better things to do.